Welcome to bongosikha, aspirants. Today our discussion topic is the President of India. So I am going to discuss an article with the article that Articles 52 to 78 in part 5 of the Constitution deal with the Union Executive. The Union Executive consists of the President, the Vice President, the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers and the Attorney General of India. The President is the head of the state. He is the first citizen of India and acts as the symbol of unity, integrity and solidarity of the nation. So President is elected not directly by the people but by the election through a process of the Electoral College. The Electoral College consists of the elected members of the both houses of the parliament, the elected members of the state legislative assemblies and the elected members of the legislative assemblies of the union territories including Delhi and Puducherry. So qualifications. So for becoming a president, a person should be a citizen of India. He should have completed 35 years of age. He should not hold any office of profit under the central government or the state government or the local governments. He should be qualified for election as a member of the Lok Sabha. So these are the qualifications. Next, before entering the office, he swears or he takes an oath which is administered by the Chief Justice of India, and in the absence of the Chief Justice of India, any senior most judge of the Supreme Court gives him the oath. The President swears that he will faithfully execute his duties. He will always protect and the supremacy of the Constitution, defend the Constitution and the law, and he will devote himself, render his service for the nation and to protect the people for the service of the people. So this is the oath of the office. Now the conditions of the President's office, that he should be a member of the either house of the parliament, so that state legislature, either house of the or a house of the state legislature. He should not be a member of the or a house of the conditions of the President's office. What I was discussing, that he should not be a member of the either house of the parliament or a house of the state legislature. He should not hold any office of profit under the central government or the state government, and he is entitled to his official residence, that is Rashtrapati Bhavan, without any payment, and his allowances, his pensions, his salaries will not diminish during his tenure, and his allowances, emoluments, everything will be determined by the parliament. Next, that term, impeachment and vacancy. The President is normally get a session for 5 years, but he may leave his post before the expiration of his term of office by submitting a resignation letter to the Vice President, or sometimes the President can be removed, which is called the impeachment on the ground of the violation of the Constitution. The impeachment procedure has to be initiated in either house of the parliament by 1/4 of the majority signature with the 1/4 of the majority of that house, and a 14 days notice has to be given to the President. If that resolution is passed by that house, then it has to be sent to the another house for investigation, and President will get the chance to be presented through the procedure of the investigation. And if it is passed by that house also, by the 2/3 of the majority of that house, then the President holds removed or impeached from his office. So this is the impeachment procedure. Next, that vacancy in the President's office. There are several reasons due to which there can occur vacancy in the President's office, like on the expiration of the term of his office, on his death, or on his by his resignation, or on the process of the impeachment that he has removed from the office. Whenever the expiration of the vacancy is going to be finished, then a fresh election is needed to elect the new president, and until the new president is elected, the sitting president will continue so long the new president will take up the charges and duties. Next, powers and functions of the president. Executive powers. All the executive actions are taken in the name of the president. That all the executive actions of the government are formally taken in the name of the president. He appoints the prime minister, he appoints the council of ministers on the recommendation of the prime minister, and they enjoy their office during the pleasure of the president. Then Attorney General, he appoints the Attorney General of India, who enjoys his office during the pleasure of the president. He determines his salary. He appoints the prime minister and the other ministers also, as I told right now. He appoints the comptroller and auditor general of India, election commissioner and other commissioners, the chairman and members of the Union Public Service Commission, the governor of the states, the chairman and members of the finance commission. He can seek any information from the prime minister regarding the affairs of the administration of the union. Then he can appoint a committee to investigate the conditions of the SC, ST and other backward classes. He can appoint an interstate council to promote the center-state relations or the interstate cooperation, and he directly administers the union territories by appointing the administrators through the administrators appointed by him. Directly he can control the union territories through the administrators directly appointed by him. Next, legislative powers. He can summon and prorogue the houses of the parliament, and he can dissolve the Lok Sabha also. He can also summon a joint sitting of the both houses of the parliament, which is presided over by the speaker of the Lok Sabha. Then he can address the parliament at the commencement of the first session of each year fresh elections, and he can address in each year also the first session of the each year also. Then he can appoint any member of the Lok Sabha to take the charges when the offices of the speaker and the deputy speaker fall vacant, and his assent or his approval is needed for certain bills like a creation of a new state or alteration of the boundaries of the state, then any bill involving the expenditure from the consolidated fund of India. And he nominates 12 members from the he nominates 12 members to the Rajya Sabha from amongst the persons who are having distinguished knowledge in science, arts, literature, then social service, etc. And he can nominate 2 members to the Anglo-Indian community and to the Lok Sabha. He can decide with the election commission on the question as to disqualification of the members of the parliament. So now next, what is important, that when a bill is sent to the president for its consent, the president may give his assent or withhold his assent, or the president may send the bill, if it is not a money bill, for reconsideration to the parliament. But if that bill again is passed by both the houses of the parliament, then it is obligatory for the president to give his assent. So this is the one legislative function. Next, that when a bill passed by the state legislature and it is reserved by the governor for the consideration of the president, then the president may give his assent, the president may withhold his assent, or the president may rescind the bill for reconsideration if it's not a money bill to the state legislative assembly. And if that bill is passed by the both houses of the state legislative assembly, in this case it is not worthy to mention that president is not bound to give his assent. So this is the another thing. Next, he can promulgate ordinances when the parliament is not in session. So this is all about the legislative powers of the president. Next, the financial powers. The money bills can be introduced in the parliament only with his prior recommendations. Money bills can be introduced in the parliament only with the prior recommendation of the president. He causes to lay before the parliament the annual financial statement, which is called the union budget. No demand for grant can be made without his recommendation. He can make advances out of the contingency fund of India to meet any unforeseen expenditure, and he constitutes a finance commission after every 5 years to decide the distribution of revenues between the center and the states. Next, judicial powers. He appoints the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and the judges of the High Court and the Supreme Court. He can grant pardon. He can do the remission of the punishment, and he can seek any advice from the Supreme Court regarding any question of law or fact. Next, that diplomatic powers. The international treaties and agreements are concluded in the name of the president or on behalf of the president. However, they are subject to the parliament, but he represents India in the international arena by concluding treaty, agreement, etc. Military powers of the president. He is the supreme commander of the army, navy and the military force. And here he can declare war or conclude peace. Next, emergency provisions. That there are 3 types of emergency provisions: the national emergency, that is Article 352, the states emergency, that is Article 365 and Article 356, and financial emergency, that is Article 360. During these emergency provisions, the president, extraordinary powers of the president the president only has the extraordinary powers to deal with these emergency provisions. As I told right now, that president can promulgate ordinances during the emergency. So president is all powerful during the time of the emergency. So this is the emergency powers. Now the veto power of the president. Veto. So absolute veto. What is the absolute veto? It refers to the president the right to give his assent, the assent to a bill passed by the parliament. So the bill ends and doesn't become an act if he doesn't give his assent. So the bill ends there and doesn't become an act. And usually this type of veto is exercised in the 2 cases regarding the private members a bill, that any person who is a member of the parliament but not a minister, and the government bills, that when any former cabinet resigns and the new cabinet usurps, and the new cabinet asks the president that not to give his assent to that particular bill. So this is the absolute veto. In this case, I would like to cite an example that in 1954, the President Dr. Rajendra Prasad was requested by the cabinet, the new cabinet, to withhold his assent to the PEPSU appropriation bill. PEPSU means Patiala and East Punjab States Union Legislative Assembly. That is the PEPSU appropriation bill. And also again in 1991, President K. Venkataraman also withheld his assent with regarding to the salary, the emoluments and the pensions and all these things of the members of the Parliament Amendment Bill. So these are the two cases or the two examples of the absolute veto. Next, a suspensive veto. Then when a bill comes to the President after reconsideration by the Parliament, then the President is bound to give his assent. But in a state legislative assembly, if the bill passed by the both houses of the state legislature, it is not obligatory for the President to give his assent. This means that the President veto is overridden by a repassage of the bill by the same ordinary majority. So this is suspensive veto. And the pocket veto, in this case the President neither ratifies nor rejects nor returns the bill, but simply keeps the bill for an unending period, because the Constitution does not clearly stipulate anywhere that you have to give his assent within this period of time. So this is called the pocket veto, that is taking no action on the bill passed by the legislature. And absolute veto, that is withholding the assent to the bill passed by the legislature. And suspensive veto, which can be overridden by the legislature with an ordinary majority. So this is the veto powers of the President. Next, I have already discussed the powers that he can grant pardon in case of any death sentence. He can remission of the punishment, that in case of the lifelong jail or that case, he can also grant remission, he can also reduce. So these powers are also in the hands of the President. So this is all about the President. Thank you.